But turning now to the Kennedy Center, side of the U.S. Saudi Investment Forum. Headlining that forum, of course, President Donald Trump. Of course, this comes just one day after a sit-down with Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. The takeaway from that sit-down is this: an investment from Saudi Arabia into the United States of up to $1 trillion. Take a listen to the president on that subject just moments ago.
This week, our countries also signed groundbreaking agreements on civil nuclear energy, critical minerals, and artificial intelligence. And I want to congratulate a lot of the great American leaders, business leaders that are in the room, and you'll do a great job for Saudi Arabia and for a lot of other people in the room that are buying your product, taking your product, and using your product. All of that is in addition to the $600 billion investment in the United States that Saudi Arabia announced during my unforgettable visit there last spring. Well, I said, could you try and get that up to $1 trillion? And yesterday, the Crown Prince announced that the number that they'll be investing in the United States is $1 trillion. So that's really an honor. While we were taking the picture, I said, could you make it 1.5 trillion? So he's got something to think about.
So live inside that room at the Kennedy Center where President Donald Trump just wrapped his comments, CBS News senior White House correspondent Weijia Jiang. Always good to be with you, Weijia. So what else did the president reveal in his address?
Reed, this was a very lengthy address to a crowd that ultimately gave President Trump a standing ovation because, of course, he reiterated the relationship between the U.S. and Saudi as it relates to that $1 trillion investment that Saudi Arabia has pledged. He talked about all the various sectors that would be impacted, especially in the world of artificial intelligence, as Saudi Arabia tries to move away from a reliance on oil and energy in order to build up its economy. And the president talked about his own policy with regard to the economy as well, stressing what he says is really working, tariffs. He also talked about the need for interest rates to talk down. He went on a tirade against the chair of the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell, and once again said that he should be fired. He talked about new deductions. And also, Reed, I should point out that he talked about one thing that the Crown Prince, MBS, asked of him, which was to get involved in Sudan, which has been undergoing a civil war and humanitarian crisis. And the president says that he is going to be working on something big for Sudan, even though it wasn't on his radar, at the request of MBS. So he covered a lot of ground here, Reed, but it is important to point out that despite this pledge of $1 trillion, that's not the same as done deals. And during the president's first term, the Saudis also pledged $450 billion, much of which never actually came to fruition. Reed.
All right, so let's talk about the president's face-to-face, because he's doing it a lot with the Crown Prince, and the comments that he made about journalist Jamal Khashoggi. What exactly did he say? Because we know now, 24 hours after you and I watched that live, the reaction has been huge.
Sure. The president answered a question in the Oval Office, sitting right next to the Crown Prince, about this Washington Post journalist who was murdered during his first term. And President Trump essentially exonerated MBS, even though his own CIA and intelligence community concluded back in 2018 that it was MBS who orchestrated the murder of Khashoggi. And, you know, while that was stunning in the moment, it's important to point out that at the time, the president also delivered a lot of skepticism about the conclusion. After the CIA drew this, the president said maybe MBS did it, maybe he didn't, maybe he knew about it, maybe he didn't, and perhaps the U.S. would never know what really happened. Because remember, Reed, the president views every foreign relationship, every relationship with a foreign leader, with a lens of being a business partner. And here we are 7 years later talking about all the money that Saudi Arabia has committed to the U.S., putting human rights, putting other things, not as a priority as much as getting these deals done, because he says what matters most to him is putting America first. But to your point, Reed, that is drawing swift reaction, including from Jamal Khashoggi's widow, who spoke to our Major Garrett yesterday. Take a listen.
Would you like to meet with him?
I would love to meet with him.
I would love to meet with him. I send him a letter.
What would you want to tell him?
I want to tell him what is the real Jamal Khashoggi. What is the real beautiful person, stable person, open-minded, real open-minded. Jamal Khashoggi was very, very kind person and transparent. And you can sit with Jamal and you absolutely come with a different view, different idea, and I promise you will walk away with a smile. This is Jamal Khashoggi. He sit with all background, all ideology. You have absolutely different idea from Jamal, but you will be able to walk with a smile, not upset.
And that was Hanan Alart Khashoggi, who also posted on social media a thank you to the journalist who asked the question in the Oval Office. That was ABC's Mary Bruce, who took a lot of heat from President Trump and was accused of embarrassing his guest. But she said that her late husband would have been very proud that the fact that journalists were asking those questions inside the Oval Office. Reed?
That journalist Mary Bruce with steel in her spine, Weijia Jiang, right there, lockstep as well. We appreciate your reporting as always.